showed you earlier how I put that back piece in, and it's all fine. You know, everything is great. So I've got pretty much every major piece of metal that's got to go back into this body shell pretty much finished. I've just got to go over and do a lot of little fill spots. There's one right there, and it's where I've had a spot flash. I got another spot flash there, another one there, another one there. It's really hard to get the spot welder to not do a burn off, especially if you don't go and clean your contacts constantly, because it concentrates the current. And I'm always taking my spot welder and just running a file over the contact tips. And you can see there's a lot of little spots, like right there. No, that one's good. But now it's coming down to so much little pieces of fill. And here's an example right here. The original B-post, it came. It's actually running short, about 3/16 of an inch. Right in along here. So I'm going to have to go and actually cut a little 3/16 of an inch little fillet, put that in, get it looking good, bonded to the bottom there. I've got the welds up here. I can fill that a bit and just fill that little gap. I don't want to do a Bondo fill on that. I've got a little gap right in here. Just put a little piece of filler before the rocker cap goes on. Before I put the rocker caps on, I'm actually going to be damn near filling that with, it's a spray, it's really almost like grease. And I'll just almost fill that. It's got its drainage points and everything. But because I have to buff so many of those surfaces off when I build it, so I get a decent weld contact, there's exposure right in along here, and a little bit on the top piece, where I bonded it all along the bottom. I've got to fill that right up. I'm not sure if I can do a spray, but otherwise that'll be almost filled with goo and grease, because I had to do a bit of cheating over here, and it's just a start, but this is all going to get buffed out. I had to go to a bronze base. As much as I hate using them, I had to go to a bronze base mold right in here, and I'll grind that out. But one of the reasons being is I can use that in places as a filler, as in right in here and here, and get my taper and my flow, and a little bit of buffing right down there. Once that's all done, I've actually gone around and sanded a lot of surfaces just to get them roughed up for the undercoat or the epoxy. We're going to do some other sanding and buffing. And this one right in here, and I've just shown you, there's the fill that has to go in there. You just want to have that, I'd almost rather drive around with a few gallons of freaking oil in there so it never, ever rusts again. I've got the patching in here and here, which draws the floorboard up to the firewall, and some patching and some triangles there and there. And that's all filled. I did the same thing around here. There's going to be some final buffing in a little bit, but I've got a crack and a little bit of a void right where my finger is in there. I think I might be able to get in with a MIG and do just some spots just to fill that spot. But otherwise, this is all spot welded, and just to get everything tightened right up so that when the thing basically gets dipped in lard, just you can see right along here I've got all the spot welds in, and there's the outer rocker. But that surface there, as well as whatever in there, you can't really go wrong with just filling it with a oil base or grease base undercoat, even after the primer is in. Because this is all set up now. I've already checked the baffle plates, and they're all ready to go in. Just got to do a little button head there, and get this stuff all ready for its final when I go and basically spray it all down with that epoxy-based primer. I've got to do the firewall as well. It just needs a lot of sanding. I got to fill a few little spots and rough down what is the old original paint so I can get a good bond with the primer. I've got some modifications to do on the little chin rail that holds onto the hood. I've got some little variances on curvature, and we'll get those ones straightened out too. Because up here, I buffed this all out, and that's all pretty clean. There's not much you can do about it. You can't get that panel, that's for sure. And but it's all pretty clean. Like I said before, I'm going to put a little cover plate in there. And so much as just going over it with sandpaper and primer, the epoxy-based primer, to get it sealed up, and buff off a lot of little spot weld buttons, and even some little MIG weld hairs that have popped through. We'll get that one off right now. Oh, there it goes. And there's one right there. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's 27 little spot welds on that side, as well as all the way up this side too. And an inner MIG and an inner MIG, just to hold it together as you do in the assembly. I do the little quick MIG just to hold it there, and then as best of the reach I can get out of my sort of generic spot welder. Seems to work pretty well. Mind you, I keep having to change the heads on my spot welder and keep pointing them up and cleaning them, just so they give a good contact and you don't get a blow through or a burn through. It takes about 1 or 2, and then you know you're at your final. And I got some little patch filling to do in here, and that's just a blowout weld. Just turn the amperage down and get the buffing pads out. The same thing I showed you on the other side is over here too. And just where that B post came down, it doesn't actually have the full clearance. I might be able to get away with it just by doing some quick tacks along the bottom, but just to get it all looking so it's a flow through, I'm going to have to put a fill in there of some kind. So if I just make a strip, 3/16 1/4 wide, and get that to bond. But I've got some fill to do in here. There's another dead spot weld. And then there's the paintable caulking. I think I've got a couple tubes right over here. It's what these cars, I think, were held together with originally. And it's just a paintable Proform. Can be painted. And this is really what lined the trunk, most of the pillar pan, or the spindle posts, or A post, B post. And that's the stuff that's so hard to scrape out at times. But that's what's going to go in. And get this shell all done, because I've got all the fenders and the doors, which need some work. There's a trunk lid over right there. That trunk lid needs to be buffed out on the inside. The outside needs to be prepped. But I've got the doors and the fenders downstairs in my storage, because I don't think this thing's going to use the new panels. I'll fit all of those. Probably going to take a lot of work to get my alignment on my fender versus door, front and back. This thing here, it's so tight on the angle that I got to do maybe some gap welding and some filling. But that's this week, and can hardly wait.